And I mean, your career has spanned beyond Central New York. You faced guys like Raven and Stevie Richards, Roderick Strong. Is there anybody on like a national level that you want to challenge sometime soon?
I've always said that I'm either a curse or a good luck charm. Because every time I come out here and I say that there's somebody I want to get in the ring with, I want to face, they always seem to get snagged up by me before I get a chance to. Happened with Brody Lee. He was always my big goal. He got signed. Biff Busick, Oni Lorcan, he was the next one. Chris Hero. This time last year, I was supposed to be stepping in with Keith Lee. Match didn't happen, unfortunately. Then he got signed up before the match could be rescheduled. Jeff Cobb still at the top of my list. Someone I want to mix up with. Had two opportunities. Both of them fell through for different bogus reasons, but it is what it is. So hopefully that match will come up soon. Other than that, man, it's always been my dream match to get in there. I would love to wrestle Scott Norton. He's always been my big one. When you're a big man wrestler, there's definitely not a lot of heroes still living to me, let alone still competing in the ring. I missed my chance with Vader, so hopefully I won't miss it with Scott Norton. But then just about, anybody who's out there who people think they're some big indie name, who think they're the greatest and the bee's knees, I would like to get in there and show them that, I belong in the same tier as them.
What was your experience like with Ring of Honor?
Ring of Honor was great. Out of all the things that I owe to becoming a better wrestler and more importantly a better big man wrestler, Ring of Honor was definitely one of them. I did several of their tryout camps. The first one I did, at the end of the first night, I got pulled into a room with 3 or 4 other top indie names. A couple of them ended up getting signed, and we're all told that we're the ones standouts, the ones that are being looked at. And the guy pointed to me, and he's just like, we had no idea who the hell you were, but, you really impressed a lot of people, even though no one knows who you were. And, I went back and did a few more, and every time I would do, whatever, and I'd always ask them, like, what do I need? What do I need to improve on? What do I got to do? And they're just like, no, you're great. We love it. But for one reason or another, things just didn't align. Unfortunately, Kevin Kelly was a big supporter of mine, and he was really pulling for me. And after my last tryout with him, when things were looking really good, he ended up leaving the company, and kind of my chances kind of flew out the window with that. Just, dumb luck in wrestling, man. It's all right place, right time. And that was just a couple weeks too late. But, working on the future of Honor events, working on, the dark matches, the tryouts. Always a learning experience, great guys to work with, and definitely appreciated all the time I had with them. And, I'm just hoping that it's not done for good and our paths will cross again one day.
And was that kind of the same experience with Impact?
Not so much. The first time I got to work with Impact, they were coming to the Pennsylvania area. And at the time, I was working for WXWC4, which was run by Samu. And they came into town, and they were looking for guys to do, like, dark matches and tryouts and extra work and stuff like that. So Samu hit me up and asked me if I would be willing to it was in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
Asked me if I'd be willing to come down. He put me up. He let me crash at the Wild Samoan training center there. Did the dark matches, helped around back there. And, it was a good experience and everything. The most recent one with Excite Wrestling was, different company, different ownership, different structure. It was a lot different. But so not so much a big of a learning experience as Ring of Honor was. Because, with Ring of Honor, not even with just Delirious and, like, Kevin Kelly, but, hearing from guys like Jay Briscoe and Christopher Daniels, guys like that who are watching you and will pull you aside and tell you what they liked, what they didn't like, what you can do. So Ring of Honor is just a constant, just a working experience of just whatever you do, you're going to come out better. Impact was, trying for a job and, unfortunately falling a little bit short with it. But I mean, I definitely liked my time there. Aside from OVW, Impact was my first real up close look at how television pro wrestling is done. So in that case, that was a learning experience. But yeah, just kind of a different animal there.
And your fans know you're a big guy. You're about 6'5". Have you ever crossed paths with Fela Ba?
No, actually, I haven't crossed paths with him in the ring. I've bumped into him, and when he was at the Impact taping, we bumped into each other in the locker room, and he asked me who I was wrestling that night, and I told him, I'll be wrestling Shankar, and he's just like, well, what the hell? Why aren't we wrestling? And I was like, I don't know, man. So he, I've known him going back a few. Not saying like I'm close buddies with him or anything, but but he's definitely a guy I would like to get in there and mix it up with. Just talking to him, knowing him, and things like that. Maybe I can get into Moose's ear, and maybe we can get that going at Excite or something, because I would definitely like that.
Is there any wrestlers that you don't like working with?
Man, it's a loaded gun right there. Yeah, I mean, I've had very few experiences as far as guys who I've had to work with who I didn't like one reason or another. With me, if I don't like you for whatever reason, I can always put professionalism first. And if I have to share a locker room with you, or heaven forbid, a ring with you, I'll put my best foot forward, and we'll get where we need to go. But in the grand scheme of things, there's not a lot of people who overall, just as is, I would say, I hate this person, I don't respect this person, or whatnot. Not to say that there's not one or two guys out there, and not to say I haven't had to wrestle in a ring with them. I really freaking hate this guy. I don't even know what his name is. Just his freaking nickname, El Jefe. Some little guy who just wanted to make things difficult in a matchup in New York City, and he was the only guy where I was teaming with a wrestler named Michael Orlando that night, and only guy that, despite everything they did in the ring, which at the time I didn't even know the full extent, I just thought this guy was just having a hard night. I went to shake his hand after, and he refused to shake my hand, and then that was kind of like the catalyst. And me and Orlando walked in, and we're just like, "That's it, man. You got issues. We're going outside, and we're going to handle this, the old school way." And that was the only guy I've ever been like, "You and me outside now." But other than that, man, no. Everyone I've ever worked with, they've all been able to be professionals. No one's ever been too difficult or ever tried to sabotage or anything like that. So no, I wouldn't really say there's been a lot of people that I've just hated working with or hated being around or anything like that.
So what's your ultimate goal in wrestling? Where do you want to end up?
Well, there's been my ultimate goal is just I would like to consider myself a success at it. I've had plenty of conversations with plenty of people that if I were to hang my boots up right now, that I've already achieved more than most people in this business, ever have. But for me, that's not really enough. I would really like to make a solid go at it. I'd like to make a bigger living off of it than I have. I'd like to do more with it than I have. I'd like to leave wrestling a better place when I'm done. My goals, obviously I've always wanted a contract. I wanted to get on TV. I wanted to go to Impact or Ring of Honor. I wanted to get steady bookings in Japan. But I mean, aside from the obvious, anybody else will tell you the same thing. They just want to make money at it. They would like the contract. They would like, their time and the exposure. My big goal now, I've been to Japan. I've really been very interested in like all the wrestling that's going on, like all the British wrestling over in Europe. That's been like my new main goal. I'd love to go over to England and Germany, even my motherland, over to Holland. I'd really like to make a trip there before it's all said and done. Make the loop and give the European wrestling scene a solid go as well. But I mean, any combinations of those, and I'll be happy, and I'll consider myself a success.
Was it difficult to adapt your style to the Japanese style?
The style, no. Out of everything that was difficult to adapt to in Japan, the style was the easiest to go to because I was tailor-made for that situation. Japan has always been very big and very respectful to guys of my stature and my ring style. So going over there and just doing what I have done and then improving upon it, that was easy. I've been a fan of Japanese wrestling a long time. I've damn near seen every Stan Hansen match. I've studied the hell out of him and Terry Gordy and Vader. I knew what I was getting into. I knew what I had to do. And I've always modeled my in-ring style after that to begin with. So going over there, really, the only difficult thing is I was asked not to do any of my suplexes out of respect for the champion who was all about suplexes. So that kind of sucked. But other than that, yeah, they didn't want me to do suplexes, but they really want me to give people choke slams. But no, the adapting the ring style like that wasn't that difficult. And then I got to work with a bunch of guys at the dojo who fine-tuned what I had, taught me more, and like I said, I left Japan a whole new kind of monster.
Brute, I want to thank you so much for your time. It sounds like we're going to have a pretty interesting night at the Dynasty on the 29th. Do you have any final thoughts going into Saturday?
Final thoughts going into Saturday? No, just everybody there from the office to the curtain jerker. Just remember, you're in my town, you're in my neighborhood. You can throw a stone, and you're going to hit Oneida, and that means when you get there, you're going to wipe your feet, and then you're going to show me respect. And whether Dynasty wants to admit it or not, they're going to start showing me the respect.
All right, Brute, thank you so much for your time. You have a good night.
Hey, man, thank you. You too.
Thanks. There you have it, guys. Brute Van Slyke. It's going to be pretty interesting Saturday night to see what he's going to do at Table for Two. I think the Dynasty should be pretty scared right now. Pretty big guy coming at you, and he's not happy. We'll find out Saturday night what Brute has planned for the Dynasty and its wrestlers. It's going to be a good show Saturday night. CNY Wrestles podcast will be there. Make sure you say hi to us. We'll have a table set up there. Come meet us. We'll hand out some cards, some postcards for the fans to find us, and some business cards for the wrestlers who might want to promote something to give us a shot. So thank you for joining us tonight. We are planning on having the Upstate Wrestling Organization team on our next episode. That's a new promotion that's just starting from scratch in Utica, run by Craig Palmer, Sean Stevens. And we'll have them on to talk about how progress is coming along with the Upstate Wrestling Organization. So some good stuff coming up, and we'll have some other big names coming up soon on the podcast. So make sure you subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts or Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, CastBox. however you're listening to your podcast, make sure you hit subscribe and hit the like button too. Feel free to leave us some feedback on our Facebook page, the